Here's the dilemma. Once we awaken, we want to shift spiritually on how our decisions are made. The most paramount thing is the decisions you make each and every day, each and every moment. We're making thousands of decisions, whether they be little, medium, or big. And the accumulation of these seemingly insignificant decisions determine our destiny, determine the path in which we take. And most people's decisions are hampered, are not filled with illumination because they're externally based. We take our cues from the external world in what other people will think of us, of the education that we've been raised with, our value system that we've been indoctrinated with. All these things stifle our passion, our creativity, and the mechanism in which spontaneous right action manifests. When we shift and unplug ourselves from the external world, and it's no longer as important what people think of us, we're no longer running our lives to avoid fear, to stay in the comfort zone, and we no longer need external validation. We generate the answers to life's questions on what we're always asking. What should I do next? What decision should I make? How should I go about this? And one of the greatest gifts is we have the answer within us. And yes, maybe some thinking might be involved, but predominantly it's going to be an inner knowing, your inner compass, your intuition. Just instinctively knows. And thousands of years ago, this was sharpened and was because it was part of our survival mechanism. So you needed to develop good instincts in order to survive and perpetuate the species. Now we've gotten away from that because other people have found a way to alter that natural decision-making mechanism that lies most often dormant within us. We just don't listen. And when we do hear it, we don't trust it. I have a friend who told me, man, when I was younger, I had such a strong impulse to go to Latin America. It was just, and I didn't listen. I didn't listen to it, and now I regret it. And his life is not exactly where he wants it to be. And he said, man, I wish I would have listened to that decision. So how do we know when the decision is coming from the mind? How do we know when the decision is coming from our intuition, our heart? And this is such an important skill to practice and to fine-tune. And it's something that we don't get taught. How do we make decisions? Most people, we just so dominant with the mind. Not that we should ignore the mind, but the mind is a smaller portion in our decision-making process once we awaken. And the decision-making process, how do we know if it's right? Well, oftentimes it will take you out of your comfort zone. Even something as simple as taking a different route to work or home, or going to a different restaurant. Well, how do I eating different food or meeting different friends or type of people? You'll have this. It'll give you a little bit of angst, a little bit of comfort. The mind wants to be safe, secure, and comfortable. That's its pattern, and that's its decision-making process is based on that. So we take jobs that are safe and comfortable. We stay in relationships that are safe and comfortable. And our lives, we enter the zone of roboticism, routine, just going through the motions. And that's because the mind is trying to protect ourselves and our survival. A lot of this is, biologically induced, along with external indoctrination. So how do we find? So when we want to find out what is the right decision, what should I do, instead of mentally stewing and should I do this and should I do that, which exhausts the body, it wears it out. A couple things you can do: write a journal. Ask at the top of the journal, write the question, whatever decision you're not having, and just free write. Another thing you could do is just, hey, intuitive mind, my spirit, my soul, my higher self, whatever you want to call it, just pose a question to it and say, when you're ready, you'll give me the answer. There's some major decisions I've made in my life by just being patient and just waiting. Maybe I didn't have all the information I needed, a big decision I was going to make, and if I just pose the question and you start feeling, now's the right time. This is the right decision. You just know. It's just a deep knowing when and if that's the right decision. And it's a skill that takes a little bit of practice. And you start with the small things that, there's not going to have any major consequences. It's not like you're quitting your job or anything, but, just a good example is a different route to work. And just ask your intuitive self, well, which way should we drive today? Or what's something different that we could have for lunch? Or whatever. Just it starts taking yourselves out of the comfort zone. And then you start doing it in conversations where you're more freely speaking from within here instead of here. Because oftentimes when we speak to someone, we pre-screen what we say. Well, I wonder what their action will be, or the reaction will be. Will they like what I'm about to say? Will they not like it? And it creates this oppression, this suffocation, like we're in a straitjacket, and that we can't truly be ourselves. And this, not only in decisions does this mechanism or this muscle help, it helps in all aspects in our life where we start acting authentically, spontaneously, and there's passion is re-energized back in our life, and we just feel rejuvenated because we are living from a different space. We're living from here and not mind dominant. And most people mind. Mind is what runs their lives and guides pretty much every aspect of their life from the moment they get up to the moment they go to sleep. So, today, start practicing. Hey, I'm gonna start speaking spontaneously. I'm gonna start making decisions by listening. And one of the greatest skills we can develop is listening. It's like we have an inner guide or a higher knowing or just that intuitive self, which is a muscle this size because we don't listen to it. The more we listen and obey it and follow through, the stronger it gets, the bigger it gets, and then it becomes second nature, where your decisions are made from not a place from fear, but from a positive place, a place where you're going to take risks and you're going to have to be courageous. And it's scary. That's why we need to start small. But the big thing is to start obeying and following through. The decision part, knowing what to do, is the easy part. The challenging part is the follow through, is having the courage. Because it'll often take us, when we listen to our higher self, it'll often take us into the deep end. It'll take us into territory that we're not familiar with. And natural human inclination is to resist and say, no, I want to be comfortable, I want to be safe, I want to be secure, and you move back to the shallow end and stay with the routine, boring life. Not for all, maybe some really enjoy their regular life, their routine, but for most people, we can add a lot of flavor, a lot of spice, a lot of passion and energy into our lives. So when we wake up, there's an excitement about the day. And the fear is going to be there. When you have this decision and you start listening, the fear is going to be there. The courage comes afterwards. So follow through with it, starting small to strengthen the muscle. And don't expect to not have the fear. The courage comes after. And little things. Listening, I really feel like I should talk to that person. Like my friend, he was on the subway in New York, and there was a homeless person, and he felt this strong inner calling to take off. It was a cold day, and he said to take off his jacket and give the homeless person his jacket. And he delayed for a minute, didn't follow through, and the person, he regrets that. The person, he didn't get his jacket. So practice listening by being still. Sit on park benches, take baths, listen to soothing music, turn off all the distractions, and start listening to the answers that you already have within you. Thanks for your subscriptions, comments, and ratings.